Hello, this is Unsung with GameLeap, and today we're providing you with the tier list for patch 13.19. This is the final tier list for this patch, and there has been a surprising amount of movement present here. A lot of sleeper champions have come to light that are going to be nerfed real soon, so make sure that you abuse them while you can. The end of the season, as we know, is almost upon us. We're receiving a completely revamped League of Legends in the next 5 days, so make sure that you pay close attention to finalize your gains. We'll primarily be focusing on the S+ tier champions today and explain how they've risen over the patch. Just to clarify, this tier list is best for climbing from Iron to Diamond. If I were to rate these champions for their maximum potential in the hands of a professional, these lists would look a lot different. Our goal is to give you the best condensed list to impact your games for the rest of the patch immediately, so you can get the LP up and make your goals while still having fun. Let's go ahead and begin with top lane. Bruisers are still really strong, but some old school counters are making a comeback. The Renekton MR nerfs have dethroned him as the best blind pick, and Aatrox has replaced him. Aatrox is now the best top in the game, for good reason. He's easier to play than something like Fiora, has really good carry potential, and provides the Tennessee C even if you have a bad game. While some of his more prevalent counter picks have become a tad more common with the patch aging, he's still number one as far as blind picking goes. Please pick this champion before the season ends, you will get a lot of free LP. Fiora is hard to play, but she beats all these HP stackers, can opt into the Hullbreaker split push playstyle, and does well into almost all of our other broken tier champions. Hullbreaker is probably receiving a look, and that is due to champions like Fiora having so much success recently. If you want an in-depth guide to all mechanics, tips, and tricks for champions like Fiora, head on over to GameLeap.com by clicking on the description box below. I've been working on the website for over 3 years, creating courses for people like you to use and abuse. If you want to pick up a champion in the shortest amount of time, there is no better resource. See you on the website. Darius is the ultimate mistake punisher and has remained broken tier for quite some time. No one cripples the enemy top like Darius does when he has a good matchup, and the majority of his matchups are good right now. Garen's Stridebreaker into Hull double Zeal build has picked up a lot of traction lately for good reason. This champion scales quite quickly after his mythic has been completed and straight up deletes squishies from the game if he's allowed to get on them. The extra movement speed from double Zeal, crit, and attack speed all synergize well with his kit and this playstyle, which is allowing him to spin freely in most elos. Camille has been sleeper for quite some time now, but she's finally getting the playtime she deserves. This champion is similar to Fiora in terms of the time investment needed, but she's always been strong in the right hands. And finally, Quinn is our final addition to the top lane tier list. The Shiv into Ghostblade build has seen a sudden spike in popularity for a few reasons. Number one, it fixes her terrible wave clear, and number two, it augments her roam potential. This champ along with Akshan are slated for big nerfs in 13.20, so abuse them while you can. Quinn is best into squishy teams, but she also does well into both tanks and bruisers if we swap to a Kraken Slayer build. While we await 13.20, get out your nicest clothes for Casante's funeral. Even if this champion's rework successfully unties him from pro play, his whole playstyle and identity will change, leaving us with a shell of what we once had. This champion is receiving some massive nerfs, and they're outright killing his combo structure. Rest in peace, Casante, I'll miss you. The jungle remains shaken up, carries are back in force. Nocturne, like we predicted, has reared his ugly head and come out on top as the new king of the jungle. This champion is free low no matter what the rank is. His ultimate is amazing for solo queue, his builds are diverse against every team, and he's an absolute menace for how easy he is to play compared to something like Rek'Sai. Bow before your new king. Evelynn has retaken her spot at rank number 2 simply due to how good her matchups into these other champions are. She can easily avoid champions like Rengar in the early game, scale alongside them, and then dominate mid to late where she does best. She also does pretty well into Briar, who is next up on our list. This champion has been disgusting since her release. She has blue cane levels of carry potential into teams of 5 squishies with the lethality build, and beats essentially every other bruiser in a straight up 1v1 using the Gore Drinker build. Play her right away, either lethality with Eclipse or Duskblade, or bruiser with Gore Drinker, and you will understand why this champion is just so broken. The ban rate's over 50% for a reason. Abuse her while you can, she's getting nerfed again very soon. Bel'Veth is next up on our list. Dear lord, has this champion ruined high elo solo queue lately. I've not had a game since the patch dropped without Belle being picked or banned on one side. She's also rising in play rate in lower skilled brackets. She's getting a full rebalance on 13.20, so play this monstrosity while you can. She is currently an early game snowball champion, but the changes will make her more late game focused. And last on our list is Kha'Zix. As it turns out, Duskblade is still really strong on this champion. The nerfs to tanky junglers and skirmishers have allowed for carries like Kha'Zix to swing full force. This champ is fun to play, easy to understand, and super effective for deleting people in solo queue. Pick him up while you can. Rengar is also going to benefit from the itemization and rune changes coming in 13.20, so keep an eye out for him on our next tier list. Mid lane is also in a pretty cool spot right now. Mages still suck, but AP assassins are coming back, which is nice to see. The champions I've been talking about in the last few videos have really risen in presence, and as the patch ages, this is only doubled down. And as the patch ages, this has only become more true. Sylas is still the best pick of the patch. This champion boasts a massive 10% pick rate and 52% win rate as a melee mid. The crown build is solid, but the traditional Everfrost build on Sylas is still definitely the way to go. E Everfrost Q, E again for the easiest LP of your life. This champion only struggles in lane against very few matchups. Vex has been moved down to our second spot. She's still an absolute stone wall in a lot of matchups, has good engage for solo queue and amazing wave clear to stall the game, but the meta shifting has definitely weakened her a little bit. I would recommend playing this champion if you want to play a mid-range mage. She still has a solid place in the meta. Akshan has a very unique playstyle, a different thought process, but the best possible matchups right now. There isn't a single mid champion with a high play rate right now that does well into him. and due to this, he's receiving some fat nerfs in patch 13.20. Play him for the few days that you can for free LP, but do note that this champion is kind of difficult to learn. I would recommend playing a normal tier on him before you actually take him into rank. Zed has been moved up from S tier to broken tier due to the Hydra build rising in popularity. Ravenous Rush into W max second Zed is really uninteractive, scales incredibly well, and removes almost all of Zed's weaknesses. This build has been confirmed by Riot themselves to be massively overpowered and is receiving a nerf next patch. Play TP caster Zed while you have the chance, it is stupidly fun and dumb strong. This has good matchups into most of the meta mids at the moment, strong snowball against mages, and he's also super fun to play. Both the Ludens and Rocket Belt build are good on this champion, just make sure that you hit your R after level 6 and you'll win just about every matchup. Orianna is our next pick on this list. Ori's damage has been buffed over and over and over again. This champion has a strong lane phase, she's good out of lane, Shockwave is still game swinging. This champion will remain in S tier for as long as she's this strong. And as before, make sure that you stay away from Yasuo this patch. All of the jungle picks and most of the meta mids beat the ever-living hell out of him. Bot lane is our next role on the list. Oh man, this role is in kind of a sad state right now. Ezreal is dominating bot lane due to his decent early game, immense scaling, and his ability to go Sheen items. This patch, people have figured out that pressy attack Ezreal is far stronger than Conqueror, and now Ezreal doesn't have a weak stage of the game. If you want to believe that scales like no other, Ezreal is the best bot lane champion this patch, hands down. Training Muramon Ezreal is top tier, as is the Essence Reaver Duskblade build. Pick this champion if you don't trust your support or if you want to kite the enemy team heavily. Just make sure that you weave in auto attacks instead of only spamming Q. Like we said previously, spamming Q on Ezreal is pretty useless, and auto attack woven Ezreal is top tier. Jhin has been performing quite well this patch, but he's been knocked down a peg. The buffs to his ulti are really shining with the lethality builds, but his terrible time to kill on bruisers is a huge weakness at the moment. While he struggles against tanks and bruisers, he's still a top tier champion and should be played more. Both lethality and crit Jhin are super good, and the damage buff to his R is made so that way you only need to land 3 out of 4 shots with no prior damage to kill squishies 100-0. Ashe is still without a doubt one of the strongest ADCs in the game when it comes to her combination of utility and damage. She also doesn't have to build crit, which is a huge bonus. Unfortunately for Ashe, she doesn't have a great time into Ezreal or Jhin. Jhin is one of her better matchups, but the lethality build does actually knock her down a peg in lane. Vayne sits in OP tier. The Shiv nerfs didn't really hurt her much at all. Shiv in the Trinity is the way to go on this champion. Her 1v1s are godlike, she basically always scales right now, and she does pretty well into both Jhin, Ezreal, and Ashe. If the enemy team doesn't pick obscenely high harass, there's no better carry for playing independently than Vayne. As far as AD carries to stay away from, I would recommend not playing crit AD carries this patch. They're receiving some changes shortly that will make them more fun to play, but crit AD carries are just not in a healthy spot at the moment. Support has seen the least amount of change this patch out of all other roles. Rakan still retains his #1 spot because he's super versatile, good in just about every matchup, not banned as much as Blitz, and counters all of these assassins that are cropping up much harder. Bruisers are also easier to deal with as Rakan, giving him another advantage there. Blitzcrank is still without a doubt very strong, but not to the same level that Rakan is into the other meta picks. Blitz does get punished quite hard by some of these scaling matchups that are cropping up as well. If you're incapable of landing the hook, then Blitz is definitely not rank 1. One well-placed hook will still change the course of a game, and he counters both Bard and Senna, so for these reasons he's still really good, but the shifts to assassins in the jungle, higher pressure mid laners, and high mobility AD carries like Ezreal have knocked him down just a bit. Bard is busted, has been busted since his buffs, and he is going to continue to be busted. Play this champion with the Guardian setup, and try not to roam too much. If you do roam a little bit too often on Bard, then you will make him a little bit weaker, but this champion is basically impossible to fail on. You can build essentially everything and have some success on him. Senna is disgustingly strong since her buffs. The 8% extra damage has really translated into Senna being a high pressure pick. She scales basically every game, is a fantastic counter pick into each and every enchanter, and even does well into things like Blitz and Rakan, if you have the proper spacing that is. Thresh is sitting at over a 50% win rate as one of the highest skilled champions in the game, which automatically makes him broken. Make sure that you play him with the Guardian setup the same way that you should be playing Bard to really get the most out of this champion. When played the correct way, Thresh is the highest win rate, highest pick rate support in all of League. Abuse him while you can. Surprisingly, from our last list, Sona has also shot up a little bit. Sona has a bad matchup into Senna, but is fantastic into Bard and Thresh. If we're capable of not eating a hook in the early game, then Sona scales incredibly well, has a really good time playing with the majority of the meta champions, does really well with the AD carry tops and the AD carry mids as well, and is a solo damage threat, even if we build the Enchanter build. This champion is surprisingly strong on the later half of this patch, and it would not be too disturbing to see her pop off in 13.20. As far as champions to stay away from, I would recommend that we actually don't pick Enchanters this patch. Senna is going to eat them alive, same with Blitz, Thresh, and Pyke. Sona is the only Enchanter that I think that you should be picking on this patch. Anyways, this was Unsung with Gamely. Thank you all for watching, and hope that you all have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys in the next video.